What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. It's Monday, so time. It's time for the Mock Draft Monday. Finally, ESPN pre-draft rankings have been updated on Fantasy Pros, so we're going to simulate that this week. We're going back to the classic: 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. We're throwing 7 bench. I don't really know what ESPN is, but it's either 6 or 7 full PPR, and we've gotten picks 2, 5, 8, 9, and 11 in the last a little over a month. Let's not give ourselves 1. We'll do something else that is not one of those picks. 3. All right, we'll take the 3 pick. Again, I also have composite ADP on as well. That's just because if I just load the pre-draft rankings, the computer is going to simulate based off pre-draft rankings. We know that people will still deviate a little bit from pre-draft rankings, and it'll kind of be similar to a composite ADP what they're drafting from. So the composite ADP mixed with ESPN pre-draft rankings, and we're always going to have quarterback and rookies on high. I think people like quarterbacks this season, and we want to make sure we're not getting crazy values on any rookies. So start things off. Jefferson, McCaffrey, 1, 2. That's how it should be. We're going to take Jamar Chase at 3. Kind of a personal preference pick. If you want to take Chase, you want to take Kupp, you want to take Eckler. I do have Chase over Kupp by a little bit. And then the Eckler one really comes down to, again, do the mock drafts out. Do a bunch of drafts. If you know you have the 3 pick where you take Eckler, a bunch of you take Chase, and just see what's available at that next turn. I'm going to take Chase in this one to give ourselves something that matches the rankings and give ourselves an example of a team with Chase. So we take that. After our pick, pretty even running back and wide receiver, 1 quarterback Mahomes, 1 tight end Kelsey. We see Barkley, Chubb, Bijan, Henry, JT, Pollard, and Jacobs off the board. Also, obviously, Eckler after my pick. And then we got Kupp, Tyreek Hill, Adams, Diggs, A.J. Brown, Lamb, Garrett Wilson, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So no crazy surprises in that first round. As I've said before, I think the longer Jacobs doesn't sign, he's going to be pushed back a little bit. I've seen Derrick Henry fall in full PPR, but other than that, everything looks solid there. So pull up the cheat sheet here. Quarterback options, but I would really wait to the 3rd round to take any of those 3 quarterbacks, so we'll wait on that. Mark Andrews, top tight end. Not in love with the end of round 2. I'd wait for the 3rd round for that as well, so not going to go there. Top options for running back are Stevenson, Najee, Mixon, and Breece Hall. I do have Stevenson ranked highest, so Stevenson would be our number 1 option for running back. And then if we go to wide receiver, Waddle's an option, Olave's an option, Devonta Smith is an option. Then we kind of work down into T. Higgins, that grouping of Keenan Allen, DK Metcalf, Amari Cooper, Calvin Ridley that we're really not taking at this spot. So in my opinion, it's either going to be Stevenson, Waddle, or Olave, and we're probably not going to be able to get one of them at the next pick. So I don't really think ADP game here is worth it. I think we should take the one that we prefer. If we look at the rankings, it is Olave, but it's very, very close. 4.06 for the value for Olave, 3.62 for Waddle, and 3.6 for Stevenson, just back to back for skill players. Again, another personal preference. If you do a bunch of drafts and you're like, okay, I know the rankings say this, but I took Chase in the 1st round, and you know your teams work out a little bit better taking that running back, then maybe go with the running back. For me, I'm not going to, only because I would have done it for Saquon, I would have done it for Pollard, basically all those higher end ones. We kind of entered this new tier, at least in my opinion, because I do think the Patriots are going to sign someone. I don't know who that'll be, but I think they will, and I'm a little bit hesitant to draft him in round 2. If he falls to round 3, I'll take Stevenson, but I think we go with our top ranked wide receiver, which is going to be Chris Olave. So we've got Jamar Chase, we've got Chris Olave, and neither of the other 2 will be on the board. Allen, Waddle, Hurts, Stevenson come off, which kind of stinks. That was almost like worst case scenario for what could have been drafted at that spot. So we go back to the cheat sheet, reevaluate. I'm not taking this next tier of quarterback after the big 3 right after you miss out on the big 3. There is a value drop. I know Lamar's awesome, Burrow, Fields, Herbert, Lawrence, Deshaun. I would be pumped to get any of them on my team, but I don't want to do it right after everyone else just got better quarterbacks, because I'm just necessarily getting a little bit worse of a start. Running back, obviously, a focus for our team here. We pull up our roster. We've got Chase and Olave. We've got wide receiver filled. Very confident in those 2 players. But running back, is a little bit of a question mark for us. And it's going to be a long time before our next pick. We're going to be in the late 4th round. So a little bit scary there, but I think the middle rounds are good enough this season for running back. It's always called like the dead zone. I think it's good enough this season to where I'm okay holding out if we get something else we really like. Our other option is basically that duo of Devonta Smith and T. Higgins. I've done a video on this. I did Devonta Smith over T. Higgins by a very, very small amount, but still, we're going to do Devonta Smith here. But the other option is Mark Andrews. And I do have Mark Andrews grading out as a better pick in full PPR than both of these two. And I think that also makes more sense to make as a pick too, because now we're drafting Smith and T. Higgins to be in the flex. And so we're just losing a little bit of value by doing that. Had we started off with 2 running backs, well, our next wide receiver has a lot of value because we can start them at wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, in the flex spot. Like there's so many different options. Like Smith is not going to play 1. It's going to be Chase. He's probably not going to play 2. It's Olave. And so there's only one roster spot that we can throw him in there. And now I know that there will be bye weeks, there will be injuries, people will underperform. But the point is you'd be drafting your flex in round 3. And that's just not an amazing thing to go for. So if the value is similar, and actually the value is better for Mark Andrews, we're going to take Mark Andrews. We're going to start off with Jamar Chase, Chris Olave, and Mark Andrews. Work our way into the late 4th round. Another even split for running backs and wide receivers. Running backs, Breece Hall, Mixon, Najee, Ken Walker, a little bit early in the late 3rd round, especially in full PPR. Etienne, Aaron Jones, Gibbs, that's unfortunate. Pierce, also unfortunate. And Rachaad White, also unfortunate. So not great hearing that. We got Devonta Smith, Metcalf, Higgins, Debo, Cooper, Ridley, and Keenan Allen at wide receiver. Also great picks. Hawkinson comes off the board in 406, and then Lamar goes 1 pick before us. So we have the option to go quarterback, but remember that this small turn here, these two teams already have Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. So if we're going to go with quarterback here, we are not going to take it at 411. We're going to take it, or 410. We're going to take it at 503 at our next pick. Like we're pretty sure those teams are not taking quarterback. So why would we take one at this spot? So we're not going to do quarterback here. We're obviously not doing tight end because we have Kelsey. So it's down to running back or wide receiver. Again, if we take wide receiver, that's fine, but we would be taking our flex here. We still don't have a running back. And there's some really good running backs on the board. That range will dry up. And so I think the best move is really just to take the top ranked running back. And that is going to be probably, it is not Miles Sanders. It is Alexander Mattison by a very, very small amount. 198 for the projection for Alexander Mattison, 192 for the projection for Miles Sanders. Although, now I'm thinking of it, I guess it was like 2 days ago, so it's probably not too long ago. Didn't paste in like the current projections into the sheet over there. I'm using the custom rankings on the left, which if you have the custom rankings, there was an update. You know how I talk about all the time, doesn't apply to this video, but let's say we had added in a second flex spot. Well, you're adding in one more spot that could theoretically be used for any of running back, wide receiver, or tight end. And so the rankings were assuming that, but it was overweighting the percent chance that you're actually going to use a tight end at that spot. And so I did an update on the custom rankings. It decreased basically the percent chance you're using a tight end there, decreased the value for tight ends in 2 flex leagues. So if you haven't updated the rankings or you haven't like pulled the latest file there, go to the website, look for the custom rankings tab, see if you downloaded it. There's a date posted on it. Just re-download it and you'll be good to go there. That's the only change I made recently besides also adding in auction values. But anyways, I think the rankings are good enough here. And Madison is first. I don't think ADP game is really worthwhile to do here. Theoretically, overall, they have it way down here. So they're expecting a huge run at like wide receiver and at quarterback. I mean, I still think these running backs can get taken. So I don't think this is necessarily accurate, where they're literally saying like 20 picks are going to go by before we get to another running back. I think that's incorrect. I think these running backs are going to come off the board if you're sitting in this range. So 410, it's just such a tough range to take Madison, especially with, I don't know how the visit went, or they're just talking about the visit, but obviously they were interested in Kareem Hunt. I think Ty Chandler played decently enough in the first preseason game where they have a little bit of confidence in him. You all know my concerns with Alexander Mattison, not fully trusting the workload. So personally, I don't know if I can get on board with taking him, and I might go against the rankings and just take Miles Sanders because I think I don't know. I feel more strongly about Miles Sanders. I don't think some of the backups coming for him. And Madison doesn't get taken anyways, so maybe we just double dip and take both of those two. The only question in my mind is, should we go with quarterback? I don't think we need to. I think quarterback is going to get taken in this next range. But for where we are, I mean, realistically, the difference between many of these quarterbacks isn't like massive. Burrow, Herbert, Fields, they're all projected within 13 points across an entire season. If I can just cross my fingers, hope that one of those three makes it back to me in the sixth, that'll be fine. If not, we'll see if we can get a value on Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson. And then if not, we're looking at the range of Dak, Tua, Jones, Kirk, Geno, Anthony Richardson, Goff, like a lot of different options to where we could wait. So I think we wait. We try and get good value at quarterback. So let's do it. Let's do the double dip on Madison. I just want to make sure. Yeah, I'm not missing something there. All right, Miles Sanders, Alexander Madison, all the quarterbacks look gone, unfortunately. Burrow goes, Herbert goes, Fields goes. 3 tight ends go as well. Waller, Pitts, and Goddard. We've got another pretty even split, running back and wide receiver, a little bit more wide receiver. Judy, Hopkins, DJ Moore, Watson, Godwin, Mike Williams, and Deontay Johnson. And then running back, Dobbins, Cam, Akers, Pacheco, James Cook, and Dalvin Cook. James Cook rising up boards a lot recently. Definitely a very good pick. We've got a name screaming at us right now. Theoretically, you can actually argue it's Trevor Lawrence, but no, the name is Drake London. Drake London I have projected very, very well, actually like a late 4th round pick. So getting him in the late 6th round is incredible value. I do actually know for a fact on ESPN, Drake London is just a good value. Someone definitely hold out for. We get that. Part of me wants to take Christian Kirk, but I think it's probably better for us at this spot to take Trevor Lawrence. I do have Christian Kirk ranked a little bit ahead, but Trevor Lawrence is still at about a round of value right now. If we miss out on him and we miss out on Watson, we are still going to start entering a range where 8 or 9 weeks out of the year, we're going to have a disadvantage at quarterback. And I think Trevor Lawrence has a ton of upside this season. I think that Ridley could really have him hit like a new level. And obviously just himself, right? Struggles really heavily in year 1, just a terrible situation. All they had him was Christian Kirk. And Christian Kirk's good, but he's not, a true alpha wide receiver. And Trevor Lawrence took an amazing step with the new coaching staff. I think another year with that coaching staff, adding in Ridley, keeping Kirk, keeping Ingram, keeping like a good run game. Like apparently Zay Jones as well is having a phenomenal camp. So sky's the limit really for Trevor Lawrence. I think it makes more sense to add him than it does try and get value on a wide receiver. So another turn goes by. Couple wide receivers come off the board. Mike Williams, Kirk, unfortunately, Marquise Goodwin, JSN, Pittman, and George Pickens, who's also having a great camp. DeAndre Swift, Dylan, Jamal Williams, way too early for him. Brian Robinson, way too early for him in a PPR league. Although there's actually a lot of sites out there hyping up Brian Robinson. I still can't get behind it. It's not going to be an amazing offense, and that's okay. But to also have Antonio Gibson there, to know that Brian Robinson is not the top receiving back option, I don't know. I can't see it. I need more proof that he's going to have a really good season for, like, his ADP is definitely going to be going up with how many people are talking him up. Then P. Ryan, then Khalil Herbert, and then Antonio Gibson. And then some defenses come off the board as well as Deshaun Watson and Dak Prescott. So I think it was good taking Trevor Lawrence where we did. Pull up the cheat sheet. Few options. Quarterback and tight end are gone for us. We're going to be splitting this bench, probably more running backs and wide receivers because we only have Sanders and Madison. You guys know my hesitation with Madison. So we're probably going to do 4 running backs, 5 wide receivers. That being said, we're in a really, really good range for wide receiver right now. Jahan, Addison, Burks, Cooks, Gabe, Sutton, Elijah. I would say Quentin Johnson at the end of that, kind of drop off into like Michael Thomas, Bateman, Flowers, things like that. But these are some like really, really good wide receivers. And we have this turn here. And I know we already have a lot of wide receivers, but if we can double dip on 2 of those guys, I'm going to feel really good about our 5 in a full PPR league, really good about starting a wide receiver every week in the flex. And then we'll figure running back out. Running back's going to be the weak point of this team for sure. But I don't feel strongly enough about Penny. I don't feel good about Harris. I don't feel strongly enough about Charbonnet, McKinnon, A-Chain I like, but it's like, I just like them and I love some of these wide receivers. So let's figure out who the top ranked wide receiver is. Take them. It's going to be Addison first, then Dotson, then Cooks, then Burks. All right. So let's take Addison. I don't expect them all to be there. They did take they took Dotson. Yeah, they took Dotson, Michael Thomas, and Penny, and then Charbonnet as well. Really wanted Dotson at that pick. Dotson's going to be such a good player. But who was next? Who did I say? Cooks. Cooks just edges out everyone else. I mean, they're all projected so similar. Like, he has 0.3 points more than Treylon Burks. So whichever way you really wanted to go with that pick is totally fine. And that's why also you guys got to look at the projections at the value. When you're doing the rankings and you look up and you're like, oh, he is, Brandon Cooks ahead of Elijah Moore. I really thought he liked Elijah Moore. Yeah, I mean, I have Cooks at 186.4, Treylon Burks at 186.1, Elijah Moore at 185.5. So whatever you like. If you get to that spot and you've got to take, you're like, no, I think Burks is having a monster season, go with it. If it's literally decimal points, just take whoever you want at that spot. Okay. We're up here in the late 10th round. I think it would be smart for us to go with running back at this spot. We see 3 that we like: Warren, Tank, and Gainwell. And again, our picks are always those like back-to-back ones when we're doing this double dipping. I would love to get all 3 of them. ADP-wise, it does make sense to do the ADP game. Again, like I said last time, these running backs are going to come off the board. I know it looks like you can get them super late. You can't. They're going to come off the board. But ADP-wise, it is Warren, then Gainwell, then Tank. And I think if I take Warren, there's a pretty good chance I'm getting at least one of them. And I'm going to feel very strongly about our running back core if we can lock up 2. So let's take Warren. Both are on the board. Still, both will not be there at our next pick. I do have Tank Bigsby, although I've definitely moved Gainwell up in the rankings a lot. I technically have Gainwell 20 spots ahead of his current ADP, but I also have Tank Bigsby 10 spots ahead of his current ADP. It's tough, but I got to go with my guy Tank. Basically, the rumblings lately have been Gainwell's getting a ton of actually carries in camp, which was unexpected to see. He seems like potentially their number 1 running back. That remains to be seen. I mean, they're going to use DeAndre Swift in the receiving game plenty. They're going to use Rashad Penny on early downs. And so, and especially near the goal line, I would think that they're going to use Penny a lot as well. And so maybe right now in camp, Gainwell's getting the most touches. I feel like it's more like they're still learning the playbook. They're still learning everything. Once Penny, Swift are fully acclimated to the offense, which they're trying to do in the preseason, I think they're going to kind of take over more from Gainwell. So because I think that remains a possibility, let's just take our boy Tank Bigsby. Y'all know we like him. 3 picks left. 2 running backs and receiver. After us, Quentin Johnston, Tony, Flowers, Gallup, Elijah Moore, Adam Thielen, and Lazard. And then the running backs are only Foreman, Gainwell, and Ezekiel Elliott. Few quarterbacks, few tight ends. Doesn't really matter because we're not taking any of those. For running back, ones we like here. Roshan. You guys see that run he had on that toss play to the left? That was really nice. Roshan's got upside, especially in what should be a pretty good offense this season. Jerome Ford, of course, has that injury. We're not going to go after him. Zamir obviously has upside if they're not going to have Jacob signing. Zamir seems like the one if they don't sign someone. Fournette theoretically could be someone they do sign if Jacobs does hold out. Tyjae Spears, good upside. Kareem Hunt, because who knows? I mean, apparently everyone wants Kareem Hunt. I thought it would be flipped. I thought Zeke would have way more suitors, but everyone wants Kareem Hunt apparently, and there's actually some good landing spots in there. If he landed on Minnesota, that'd be a great landing spot for Kareem Hunt this late. It'd be terrible for my team if that happened because I took Madison so early. But yeah, I mean, potential good landing spots. And then once we get past that, it's a little bit gross. I mean, you could take a shot on Latavius if you think he beats out Damian Harris. You could take a shot on Ty Chandler as a handcuff to Madison if you don't think they signed someone. Deuce Vaughn has a little bit of upside, maybe, in a full PPR format, but you probably want to be sticking to the list that we have here. And I think Roshan is head and shoulders above everyone else, so let's lock him up. After we get him, there's still a lot of options at wide receiver, honestly. I mean, Bateman's a good pick. Nico, Zay, Romeo Dobbs, DPJ's solid pick. Alec Pierce, Osborne. Falls off a little bit after that. I'm sure Mims is still criminally undervalued. You could go with Jonathan Mingo. So definitely some decent picks. I mean, Bateman is definitely the best one. probably by a good chunk. And I doubt all those running backs get taken. So let's take, yeah, I think it's better to take Bateman, see what happens at running back. All right, a few of the ones we want to come off the board. I feel like my lean is Kareem Hunt, just given like all the news about like so many different teams wanting him. It just seems more likely that he's going to get taken over Fournette. And then we go with the Saints. And then we've completed our team. All right, here we go. Starting lineup. Trevor Lawrence, Miles Sanders, Alexander Mattison, Jamar Chase, Chris Olave, Mark Andrews, Drake London, the Saints. Bench. Jordan Addison, Brandon Cooks, Jalen Warren, Tank Bigsby, Roshan, Bateman, and Kareem Hunt. I think that's a really good mix of players that we're confident in Chase, Olave, Mark. I would say London. We don't know the true upside, but I would say him. I would say Trevor Lawrence. We took more risk at the running back position. I'm glad we got some on the bench that we like the upside for, but running back's going to be the spot we need to figure that out. So if this was actually a team early in the season, we got to figure out what is the role for Madison and Sanders. And if it's not what we thought, we probably can't win a championship unless we have like these huge breakouts from these running backs on the bench. And so if Madison ends up not being in this featured role and Sanders is just fine, that's going to be a spot where we're like, okay, well, is Addison breaking out? Is Brandon Cooks having a few really big games? Is Bateman doing really well? Are we able to package any of them into an offer for potentially running back? Maybe you took like Addison and Warren and you traded that to the Najee Harris team, not taking Najee, but like, you know, another running back, maybe they're running back too, just like getting a little bit of upside there. Yeah, it would be running back because I feel confident in quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, especially depth on this team is really good, but you got to figure out, is Miles Sanders Madison taking you to a championship? So I know that I said I might potentially do a auction draft in this one, kind of ran out of time for that, but we should have a tool on the site very, very soon that's going to help you guys in auction leagues. It's basically like the custom rankings, but for auction. It's going to allow you to kind of adjust and like see your team, see how much money you have left, see like inflation, deflation, things like that. So that should be coming soon. Theoretically, could be on the site when you're watching this, but probably not. Probably sometime this next week. So that'll do it for this one. Hope you all did enjoy. If you did, how about hitting the like button? How about subscribing to the channel if you're new here? Thanks for watching.